We're going to have a look through exercise 4 in the general ledger. So let's take it from the very beginning. Now, in this exercise, you will notice that there are some figures missing from the cash receipts and cash payments journals. So, for example, what I'm talking about is if you look over there where I've highlighted, there's some question marks. So that figure is missing, the total of the bank column. Because you have all of the other figures in the bank column over there, it's just simple enough to take a calculator and just add up all of those amounts. So I've done that, and the total I get is 357,800. But you'll need to work that out before you do the posting to the general ledger. We have another figure missing over there, that rent income figure. And there are two ways you can find this out. I mean, the one way is you could say, we know the total is 353,000. So just subtract the other two figures you have, the 300,000 and the 50,000, and you would get 3,000. Of course, it's much simpler to say we can actually look in our analysis of receipts column, and there's 3,000 over there. So that is the amount that we received from A. Conrad as rent on the 8th over there. So we know it's A. Conrad on the 8th. The amount received was 3,000. So I can actually just go and put it in there. So it's 3,000 Rand. Yeah, as I say, you could have worked it out by subtracting the other two figures. But if I've just worked it out from this figure over there and said it must be the same one, I could check now by adding up all of those. Do I get to 353,000? Yes, I do. So that's great. I'm going to do the same for the cash payments journal and then come back to the cash receipts journal. So here we have a few question marks. And the one problem is in this last line, there are just no figures there at all. So the order in which we work out the missing amounts is quite important. For example, I can't work out the total of the bank column right now because there's a figure missing just above that. So I can't just go and add them up as I did for the cash receipts journal. So what I'm going to do is go to the sundry accounts column. I know the total is 180,253. Then I know all of those figures there except that amount for land and buildings. So if I just subtract those ones that I have there from the total of 180,253 Rand, I can actually get the figure that I need to put in place of those question marks for land and buildings. And I've just worked it out, and it is 178,000. And there went my highlighting, but we'll just get it back. Chop, chop. Okay, so if that's 178,000, then that figure over there is going to have to be 178,000 as well, because it goes into the bank column and then it goes into one other, in this case, the sundry. So I'm just going to make that 178,000. And now it will be fairly easy to get this total of the bank column over here because I've now got all the amounts in the bank column. So it's a case of just adding up everything that's over there, and then I'll get the total that I need to put in here. And I've done that, so I'll just quickly put it in for you, 194,877. And a way you can just do another check to see if you are on the right track is if you go and, let's just undo that, it wasn't so clever, drag the line there. If you go and take all of those figures, so the totals of all the other columns, and if you add them up, you must get the total of the bank column. And if you add up those four that I've highlighted in gray, you definitely will get 194,877. So start by filling in all the missing figures if there are ever any missing, and then you can continue to post to the general ledger. So I'm going to go back to the cash receipts journal. By now we know this rule really well. If the business is receiving money, you debit the bank account and you will credit all the other accounts. So we're going to credit all the other accounts one by one. Okay, so we're debiting bank over here, and we're going to credit everything else. Now, the one problem in this exercise is you don't have any ledger account names. So what I mean by that is if you look here, I've gone and filled them in, but if you look in your workbook, the ledger account names weren't there. So you can actually work out the order that you need to put these ledger accounts in. And if you refer to page 48 in your workbook, you will see a list, and you can always just refer to that if you need to get the correct order. What I'm going to do is just go to my cash payments journal and just quickly enter the debits and credits. Now, the cash receipts journal I've just looked at, it was debit, bank, credit the other accounts, cash payments, the business is paying money, so you will credit the bank account and then, of course, debit all the others. Credit bank, and you just debit everything else. So, sundry, we would go and do those one by one. So, I know it seems a bit painful to go and do this, but I'm trying to emphasize the point of what you need to do here. So, we've gone and filled in all those debits and credits in both journals. Okay, now we need to go and work out the order of the accounts. As I say, I filled them in. You would always have capital first. We do have capital there. It's the first account in your balance sheet section. So that's going to be account B1, which I've already filled in the general ledger. Capital again, so that's going to be account B1. Again, from that list on page 48, your second account in the balance sheet section is going to be drawings if you have it. Not all exercises will have drawings in. Okay, so there is drawings in the cash payments journal, so that's going to be B2. Okay, those are your owner's equity accounts. After that, you would have fixed assets. Okay, in this exercise, we only have one fixed asset. It's land and building, so that will be B3. Typing it in over there. Okay, then you would have your current assets, and your list on page 48 gives you the order of the current assets. The first one you would put in is trading stock. So that is going to have to be B4. Of the accounts we have, we don't have debtors control, for example, which is also on that list. So the next one on the list that we have, so this is the list on page 48, is bank. So that's going to be B5. And of course, we have a bank column in the cash receipts journal, as well as the cash payments journal. So that's going to be B5. So bank is B5, it's the same account. And then the only other current asset we have, so the only other account in the balance sheet section is petty cash, which is over here. So that has to be B6. Okay, then you would go down that list on page 48 and look at the accounts that go into the nominal section. You would start with sales and cost of sales. We don't have either of those in this exercise. We haven't seen it in our previous exercises either, previous ones on the general ledger. So, the next one you would have would be current income. So, in fact, that's going to be our first one that we'd find in the cash receipts journal. That's going to be N1. Then you would normally have rent income. We do have it here, so that'll be N2. Then you'd have any other incomes. We actually don't have any in this exercise. And then you can put expenses in any order. So if I look here, I've got wages. That's an expense. So I'm going to make that N3. Stationery, that's also an expense. So that's going to be N4. And if I go down the remaining ones in the sundry column, there are just two of them there. Insurance is an expense, so that'll be N5. Telephone is an expense as well, so that's going to be N6. So I've prepared my journals and I'm ready to go and post to the general ledger. So to repeat, cash receipts, you will debit bank, credit all the other accounts to the respective folio numbers. That's really important to get them in the correct order. And cash payments, you would credit bank and you would debit all the other accounts. Okay, so now it's just to go step by step from the cash receipts journal first. Let's just take everything in order. I always prefer just to go from left to right of the totals and then top to bottom in the sundry column. That way you just can't miss anything out. I think it's better to do this than to go through the order in the general ledger, although different people have their own ideas. Okay, so this bank total of 357,800 that I highlighted there must go to the debit side of our bank account, the debit side of account B5. So I'm going down to the general ledger, my bank account, and on the debit side over there, okay, from the cash receipts journal, it's a good idea to have your workbook open on page 60 where you can see the cash receipts journal in front of you so that I don't keep on having to go up and down and give you motion sickness with all the rapid movement. But anyway, that's going to be 2020. That's March. And because it's the total of the bank column, we would put the end of the month date. That's the 31st. And we know by now, total of the bank column, we say total receipts as our details. And then where does that come from? CRJ for March, so it's CRJ3. And the amount that I worked out was 357,800. Okay, so let's just go back and check the cash receipts journal. Yeah, it was that amount over there, the 357,800, and I put it on the debit side of the bank account, account B5. And because it was a total, it was the end of the month's date. Okay, now I've got current income. It's a total of 4,800. It goes to the credit side of account N1. Current income account N1. I'm actually just going to put the amount in first because that way I just can't forget it. And then just go and put all the other information in here. So it's 2020, it's March. It was the total of the current income column, so it's the 31st, and we write bank. We don't ever write bank in the bank account itself, but you write bank as the details in all the other accounts. Certainly in grade 8, grade 9, it will not necessarily be the case. And it comes from CRJ3. Okay, so that is the total of the current income column. So it's this one over here that we've just posted over there. And now we need to go down the sundry column and we need to do them one by one. So we first got that amount, 300,000 to the capital account, credit side of account B1. Because it comes from the sundry column, it's not a total, it's not the end of the month's date. You take the actual date. And this one you can see it's on the 1st that our Brave put capital into the business. Okay, so it's our capital account. Credit side, we're going to go and pop in that 300,000. And it's 2020 March. It's not the 31st, it's the actual date of the transaction. So it's going to be the 1st. And you'd say bank, and it comes from CRJ3, Cash Receipts Journal for March. Okay, going back, we've now got that 3,000 we worked out for rent income, credit side of account N2, but the date is important. It's the 8th of March that A. Conrad paid us that rent, or from the business's point of view, the business received that rent income from A. Conrad. 3,000 Rand to the credit side of account N2. Okay, so it's 3,000 Rand. Always, as I say, prefer to put the amount in first. 2020 March, okay, it was the 8th, the actual date. Bank, and then it's CRJ3. And then if I remember correctly, I think we had just one more entry in the cash receipts journal. Yes, that's right. It's this one here, 50,000 for capital. So again, to the credit side of B1, our capital account, and our Bray paid in this capital, or we received this increase in capital from our Bray on the 23rd. Okay, so I don't need to go and write 2020 March again. I can just go and put in the 23rd bank CRJ3, and the amount was 50,000. Okay, that's it. We've posted from the cash receipts journal. We've done absolutely everything we needed to. So I'm just going to reduce this a little bit and just the sort of overall picture here. If you look at all the writing I've got in this sort of brick red color, you've got one debit over here, sort of in the bottom left. So debit in the bank account, you credit all the other accounts. So everywhere you see something written in this reddish color, it's on the credit side of the particular account. And all of those credits there would add up to this 357,800 on the debit side of the bank account. So it's the principle of double entry. Your debits and your credits have to be equal. Okay, so I am just going to increase the size again so we can see this a little bit easier. And I'm going to go to the cash payments journal. And now we're going to have to post from that. So I will start with my bank account, and that total of 194,877 Rand goes to the credit side of account B5, which of course is our bank account. So I'm just going to go and pop the amount in here first before I forget it. 194,877. Okay, so let's just go and put all the other information in. So the year and the month. Here's a column total, so it's the 31st. And this, of course, is total payments because it comes from the cash payments journal. And that is CPJ, and it was for March, so it's CPJ3. So that's the total of our bank column that has been posted to the bank account in the general ledger. Now, let's go back. Our next column is trading stock in the cash payments journal. Okay, and that's an amount of 7,600. Goes to the debit side of account B4, our trading stock account. Let's go all the way down. And I said a moment ago it was an amount of 7,600. And I'm going to just put in there 2020 March. Of course, it's the 31st because it's a column total. And in my details, I put bank. So to repeat what I said a few moments ago when I was posting from the cash receipts journal, in the bank account itself, you would never write bank. You can see what we wrote here, total receipts and total payments. But in grade 8, all your transactions involve the bank. And so you would write bank in all of the other accounts, not the bank account itself. And of course, this one came from CPJ3. Okay, then a couple more column totals in our cash payments journal. We've got the wages column, total of 4,500, goes to the debit side of account N3. So it's in the nominal section, of course. So it was an amount of 4,500, and it's really a lot of the same again, as you will see. Column total, so it's the 31st bank CPJ3. And the stationery one is going to be very similar. There's stationery, column total again, amount is 2,524 to the debit side of account N4. So let's go down here. So it's just after the wages account. Let me put my amount in, 2,524, and it is 2020 March 31st. Column total, so that's why it's the end of the month. Bank. It's from the cash payments journal of March, CPJ3. Okay, so that was our column totals for our cash payments journal. We've done all of them. So now we need to go through all of these amounts and to the relevant ledger accounts from our sundry accounts column. The first one is insurance, an amount of 653 goes to the debit side of account N5. Nominal section because insurance is an expense. So that's 653 Rand on the debit side of account N5. 2020 March. And of course, this one was not a column total, so we would need to go and just check the date very carefully. So there's this insurance one. If I go across, the date is the 10th. Yeah, the day is the 10th. That's what I need to put here. So if it's not a column total, in other words, it's coming from the sundry accounts column, you need to actually put the specific date on which the transaction happened. It's still bank CPJ3. Okay, let's just keep on going down our sundry column. We are nearly home and dry. So here's the next one. This telephone over there, we're going to debit N6. It's 800 Rand. And that was on the 12th that we paid that amount to Telkom. So on the 12th, it's a debit to account N6 of 800 Rand. So it's 800 Rand. There's account N6, our telephone account. And it is 2020 March. And I said a moment ago it was the 12th, the actual date, because it's from the sundry column, CPJ3. Okay, so we are just making our way through the sundry accounts column in the cash payments journal. Here's the next one. Drawings of 200 Rand to the debit side of account B2, our drawings account. And what's the date? If we go across there, it's still part of that transaction when we paid money to Telkom with document or check number 48. And we would have paid probably the business telephone account as well as the owner's personal telephone account. That's why it's two things being paid with one check. So anyway, we're dealing with the drawings, 200 Rand, debit side of account B2. So it's 200 Rand, debit side of account B2. And we need to go and put 2020 March. It's still the 12th. It's that same check to Telkom. I'm going to put bank CPJ3. Okay, I think we've got about 2 more transactions to go. Yeah, we've done the drawings. We've now got that 600 Rand petty cash. And we just need to check the date for that one. It's there on the 26th. Oops, yeah, 26th. So petty cash is the last account we have in the balance sheet section for this exercise. So I'm just going to put my 600 Rand on the debit side of account B6, the petty cash account. 2020 March, the day we saw was the 26th. So you're going to put bank CPJ3. And we have one more left in our cash payments journal. It's this 178,000 for land and buildings. It's on the 29th. You can see over there, second column from the left. Let's go to the debit side of account B3, 178,000 Rand. Okay, and that's 2020 March. The 29th, bank CPJ3. And that's it. We've posted from the cash payments journal, all done. Just want to emphasize this point about the double entry. So if we look here, kind of can't see everything. Okay, that's all red stuff, but we're actually just really looking at the blue now, which is what came from the cash payments journal. If you look carefully there, you can actually see we've got our one credit of 194,877 Rand in blue. Then if you look at all the blue debits, so there's a whole lot of them there. There's one at the bottom here for petty cash. There's a whole lot of them there as well. If you add up all of those amounts, you will also get 194,877 Rand, because all of those debits add up to the one credit in the bank account. So really, really important principle there. Okay, the last thing I need to do now is go through and total or balance accounts where that needs to happen. There's not too much of that we have to do in this exercise. Yeah, and the one thing I didn't mention earlier, I just filled in the name of the business, Weinberg Traders, which is why I've highlighted it. Okay, so what we need to do now is just go to the capital account. And what I'll do is I can actually make these a little bit bigger. And there's more than one entry, two in this case, on the same side of the account. So it's a case of just totaling up. So I want to get a nice bold line that goes there. And I'm just going to go and just give my border painter, put a bold line in, great. And then I can just add up 350,000. So if you have more than one entry on the same side of an account, just add them up. So you're just totaling them. Okay, the drawings account, there's only one entry, we do nothing. Land and buildings, one entry, we do nothing. Same with trading stock. Bank account, we generally have entries on both sides, so we are going to need to balance the bank account. So let's have a look. Debits amount there is 357,800. Credit is 194,877. Debit is definitely the bigger one. So that means we're going to have to add something on our credit side. So that's where the balance carried down is going to go. And then the two totals are going to have to be exactly the same. So what I need to do is go and total up my two sides. And I need to go and put a nice bold line there and there, down, there, here, and here. Okay, so I can go and do the totaling. And the bigger amount is 357,800. So that's going to have to be the total on both sides. So exactly the same, 377,800. And then I need to work out what I put here for that amount for balance carry down. And I will subtract the 194,877 from the 357,800 to work out what the difference between the two is. In other words, what the balancing figure thing is. I am just working it out on my calculator now as we speak. And it is going to be 162,923 that goes in there as that balancing figure. So if I add those two amounts, I get 357,800, same as the debit side. Now, you know by now, we can't just go and put amounts in wherever we feel like it. So for that credit, I need a matching debit. So it will go here on the debit side. I'm going to go and put balance brought down, and it will be exactly that same amount as that balancing figure, 162,923, 162,923 Rand. The date for this is always going to be the first of the next month, so it'll be April the 1st. In other words, April Fool's Day. Um, okay, so I didn't go and put a date over there for the balance carry down. I could very well go and write March the 31st because it's the end of the month date when we do the carry down, but I had March the 31st over there anyway, so I didn't need to repeat it. Okay, so we have balanced the bank account. We've done quite a few of those now. Petty cash, you've got just one entry, and the same applies to all of the accounts in the nominal section. Just one entry, so we don't need to do anything at all. Okay, so that was posting to the general ledger in exercise 4. There was quite a lot going on here. We first had to work out some missing figures in our cash receipts journal and cash payments journal, and then also work out the order of accounts, and then do the actual posting. So quite a lot happening, and I hope that made sense and you understood everything there.